Well, hello, drawing and painting one. We are about to begin our oil pastel project that we have been learning about in our screencast and presentation and in the video clips that you watched. And we're at the point now where you need to start getting your image that you've collected, either an image of your pet. This is one of my pets. This is Izzy. She's pretty cute. This is another picture of Izzy. This is the one I'm going to grid. Some of you, if you did not have a picture of your pet that was available to you, I did mention that you could use a copyright-free image from one of the numerous copyright-free websites that you can look up. Please do make sure, though, that it's not just a Google search of a copyrighted image. You can print that either on paper or you can have it printed at Walgreens. It doesn't matter. But it is important that you print it as a 4x6 if you're going to use the gridding method. So, as you remember from our pen and ink self-portrait grids, we have a system for taking a 4x6 image and we grid this off into 1-inch squares, and then we make the translation to enlarge this on a large sheet of either white drawing paper, or you could use Bristol board. I'm going to be using the standard size 12x18 paper that I provided you guys with when you picked up supplies. You were supposed to pick up about 4 of those sheets, so you should have some paper. If you don't, then you can grid this to any size that you want on paper that you have at home. When we're starting our grid, I want to first focus on the smaller section, and I'm going to have this posted again on Schoology for you. It will be in the same folder for the animal work that we're working on. We will have obviously the photo section up here, and then the bottom section here will be for the white paper. We're going to start with the top with the photo. This is obviously review, so this is a review of what we did for your pen and ink portraits that we hopefully will get to finish in May. You can use obviously a Sharpie marker to do your gridding, or you can use a ballpoint pen. I like to do the ballpoint pen simply because I find that the lines are thinner and it makes it just a little bit easier for me later if I'm trying to look at an image to see exactly the detail in one area. So I'm going to begin by taking a look at my sheet here, and it tells me the measurements where I should end each section, and then a quick review of our ruler, making sure that you start at 0, not at the end of the ruler. And for the 4x6, it's really simple. These are going to be 1-inch squares. So if we take our ruler and place it on our photograph, this is review, so if you know how to do this part, fantastic. We're going to make marks at the 1-inch ending, just like this. Slide the ruler down. So the ruler's going to line up at the 0 here, and I'm going to make a second little hash mark right there through Izzy's face. That's 1 inch. Come down, we're going to do this one more time. And remember, we make 3 marks or 3 dots at least so that we're guaranteed a more straight line. And then this is the part that tricks everybody up. You're now going to rotate the image. You're going to flip the image. That way you can connect your dots to make straight lines. And obviously if I go directly overhead, my head's going to get in the way of the camera, so I'm going to just do it like this. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm going to come over here. Slide this back just a little so I can see how to line up my dots. Draw a nice straight line. I would advise you to use a dark blue or black. I prefer black, but my black pen at the moment is kind of glitching. So I'm going to use this dark purple. And then try not to pull the ruler because that can make it smear. And so now that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines going this way, I'm going to rotate my grid, and actually if you turn it this way you can see the actual label for the inch where I'm going to make my mark this time. So with my paper turned, I can look at this as I work, line up again my ruler at 0, and I'm going to make a mark at the inch, just like this, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch. Move this down. Again, we're going to make at least 3 dots, so we're guaranteed a straight line. This should be review. You should hopefully remember how to do this from our previous gridding exercise. Then I'm going to lift and flip my ruler and connect my dots. Now for the actual section where you're looking in each square and drawing, I'll try to have a review section for that as well when we start the drawing. If some of you want to work ahead on that, you can certainly do that. So now I have completed the grid on my photograph, as you can see. And now what I need to do is do my grid on my larger paper. So remember, we always grid on the paper in pencil. So now I'm going to take a look at these measurements, and you're going to see that this is an enlarged version of our small photograph. And because this is 12 by 18 and we're doing a ratio, we're going to compare these. And for our small image, it's a 1-inch square. For the large paper, it is larger by 3 times, so it's a 3-inch square. So these are going to be 3-inch by 3-inch squares. And so now I'm going to show you how to grid this section off. And I'm going to flip this over to the clean side so you can see what I'm doing. I'll try to make this level so you can see. And again, we always grid on the paper and pencil. And so you can see that I'm going to be going on these marks here. So 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, and 12. So I'm going to line this up at the 0, take my pencil, go to the 3 inches and make my first mark. Then I'm going to go to 6, then 9. The 12 should be at the end of the page. Move this down. I'm using a small ruler because that's what most of you will have at home. If you have a larger, longer yardstick or 18-inch ruler, you can certainly use that. So now I've made my 3 dots. Because the paper is so long, I'm going to come down and do one more section of dots. And you could, of course, take the ruler like this and connect these and draw your line down. Or you could use the side edge of one of these other pieces of paper, since I gave you guys 4, and use that as your straight edge. Now remember, we will be erasing the pencil marks. So it's going to be really important that your grid is eventually erased. So you don't want to press so hard that the lines are not erasable. Now some of you may be wondering, hey, Miss T, if I really just want to freehand draw this and I don't want to grid this time, is that an option? I am going to certainly allow you the discretion to decide if you feel like you can draw it freehand. I also do want to encourage you and let you know that it's a great idea if you can come up with a more creative background for your image. Say, for example, I'm looking at the cat and the figure. I may want to consider changing and not having the tripod in the background behind the figure. So I'd probably change the location here. As an artist, you get to be creative about that. If you're using a copyright-free image, that still applies. You can certainly change the background. I would encourage you to do that. So now I flip my paper, and if it helps you, you can certainly flip your grid box like this, your example grid block box. Now, you obviously are not going to have the hard copy of this in front of you unless you have a printer at home. But you can have this image up, log into Schoology. I will have it on Schoology for you. And you can open it up on your phone so that you can see where your marks would go. But it's pretty simple. It's just a 3-inch mark. So 3, 6, 9, 12. And then we're going to come down here. 3, and you'll do one more. 3, 6, 9. And move the ruler down. I don't know if you can hear it in the video, but my cat is actively eating in the background. Hi, Izzy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my ruler and I'm going to connect the dots and draw my line. And I'm almost done with this. All right, so now I have my grid and I have my gridded photograph. And then we would be applying the same concepts that we use. This is a review. So we would be using the same concepts that we did when we started drawing your faces for your pen and ink portraits. And so what that means is I would of course draw what I see in each box. Now if I'm going to omit this because I want to change the background, I could skip that section. Make sure that you count. Okay, so if I want to work on the face section, count over 1, 2. So this is 2 down and 2 over. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is where my face would start. The other thing that I want to go ahead and encourage you to do, just like I did when we did our pen and ink portraits, is subdividing these squares. Okay, so come in, you can use the ruler if you like, or you can eyeball it. Subdivide the sections first in half, like this, and then in quarters. And I will put the presentation on subdividing, which is in our gridded self-portrait folder on Schoology. I will place that again also in the current folder that we're going to be working on. All of these exercises, because I'm modifying and changing things, all of this is going to be posted in the COVID-19 folder, which will be the very first folder at the top of our Schoology page. I'll also be sending you guys daily assignments so you can find the information that you need simply by going through that on Schoology. So you can see I'm just going through and subdividing. I'm first doing that on my photograph, and then I'm going to come in and do the same thing on my larger paper. But on the paper, I'm obviously going to use pencil. So if I come in here and divide this in half, this would be 1.5 inches. 1/2 of 3 inches would be 1.5 inches. Then divide that in quarters. And again, you're certainly welcome to pull out the ruler to help you subdivide. Hopefully you noticed from doing this with the gridded self-portraits that this is helpful. Unfortunately, Miss T will not be there to actively go around and touch your drawings, but if you're unsure if something looks accurate, you can send me an image, a photograph of your drawing or whatever you're working on, and of course I'm going to get back to you and try to give you some verbal assistance. So that's the section that I want you guys working on today. The next step will of course be beginning the actual drawing phase, where we're drawing what we see in each one of our boxes. Now, when we were at school, I gave you guys what is called a viewfinder. And remember that that viewfinder was just basically a small white square of paper. And you can make your own viewfinder by simply taking a little piece of scrap paper. It can be anything. This is just the back of an old photo card, but you could use any white paper. And you're just going to basically draw in the center a 1-inch square. And so to do that, use your ruler. And then we are going to come in and you can cut out the center section of this. And I'll even show you how to do that part. I'm going to grab my scissors. If you have an X-Acto knife at home, those work really well for doing this. But if you don't, you can just use scissors. That works as well. So you can come in there 2 ways you can do it. You can fold it slightly in the center like this, and then come in and just give it one snip. Then open that back up, take the tip of your scissor and come in this way. And then I would just rotate this like so. And then you will have a small little viewfinder that we can now place over individual sections of your photograph, and you'll still be able to see your subdivision lines. And you guys might not be able to see those as well from the coloration. If the color on this side bothers you, flip it to the other side that's white and it should be a little cleaner and you can see it. And then what you can do is look at your individual block and you're going to draw what's in one individual square at a time. So for example, if I was going to be working on this section and it's 2 over, I can see that the forehead of my figure, and again, I'm going to be doing my pet, and there's also going to be a person in it. And I can see that the nose comes down to about right here and is halfway over because of my grid mark. So this nose I know is going to be about right here. And I'll check that shape in just a moment. It's going to angle back. The back part of the nose is going to go up to this line. So it's going to go past the halfway point. And then if I look here how far over it comes, the curve is right in here. So that's about as far back as it's going to go. And then you can break things down and again draw lightly so you can erase and fix your mistakes. You will make them. It's totally normal. Change the shape of that nose a little. And you can see that right around here is where the cat's ear starts. So if I look, if this is my quarter mark here, the ear starts over here and then it's going to curve over. The ear goes up to, as you can see, 1, 2 sections up, 1, 2 sections up is going to be where my ear goes. And I'm going to continue drawing each section as we go. Okay, so that's how we're going to get started with our gridding. When we come back tomorrow, we will take a quick peek at your drawings and see how those are going. And then we will talk a little bit later about how we're going to add pastel to these. So good luck gridding, and I'll talk with you.